You were part of the what's called a closed society with its own traditions, with its own culture that you have to go with. You like but in the USA you were truly independent and truly free to actually live your own life without interference from others. As long as, of course, you respect the laws and regulations, then there was no problem.
How did it collide with what you thought of the world, and how did they change your view?
Well, back then, as I said in the beginning, that there was no media, there was no satellites, there was no computer, there was no internet.
Yeah.
We didn't know much about one another.
Yeah.
That gave you the opportunity, by meeting those people, to talk about their own experiences in their homeland.
Do you miss it?
The USA?
Oh yeah, USA, or that you have to talk to people to get to know them?
I still do, actually. I still do. I mean, I miss it, but I still live it. Like, I live in a multicultural here in Belgium. I meet a lot of people from different countries, and I also, because of my job, I meet a lot of people also from different countries. I meet people from Eastern Europe. I meet people from Western Europe. I meet people from the Middle East. I meet people from India, from Pakistan, from Lebanese, and so I still actually meet those people, and I like it. You kind of develop an understanding on the way they perceive things, and the way they look at things, and the way they even look at you, and that gives you the opportunity to actually communicate better with them, and at the same time avoid conflict with them. As an example, here in Belgium, when you meet somebody for over an occasion here in Belgium, if I meet my colleague as an example and it's her birthday, then I have to shake her hand and give her 3 kisses. If I do that in Jordan, I'm dead.
Yeah?
Not dead, but you cannot do that. You cannot do that.
So you studied and then you came back, found a job, and then found a wife.
Exactly. When I graduated from the USA, I had the choice to stay or go back to my country. It was the biggest, and I have to admit, it was the biggest mistake I made.
Yeah.
I decided to go back. And I say it's a mistake because unfortunately my homeland did not provide enough opportunities for the workforce. I graduated as an electrical engineering from a major university in the USA, and I went back home and I couldn't find a job. That was a shock for me. That was actually depressing for me. And I looked for a job and I couldn't find a job. So I had to go into trade. So I'm actually an electrical engineer who doesn't know anything about engineering because I never been able to work in my major. Had I stayed in the USA or in Europe, as an example, if I had the opportunity, I would have found a job in my major.
When you went back from the USA to Jordan,
Yeah.
for the first time, did you look different to Jordan? Did you have a different view on your own culture?
Oh, of course.
What has changed?
Do you want me to be transparent and frank about it?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a shock for me. Moving from the USA to go to a third world country is a shock by itself. You're talking about a lot of limitations. You're talking about a lot of mentality. Totally different mentality. Talking about, chaos in general. You're talking about environment. You're talking about culture. You're talking about the freedom that you had in the USA, the opportunities that you had in the USA is gone. It's gone overnight. And as I told you, like I went through a very difficult period of time that lasted for 5 months, in which I totally isolated myself from the world.
Like a culture jet lag.
Yeah, it was like, it was a shock.
Yeah.
It was a shock, And to be honest with you, over the next 10 years or over the following 10 years, I struggled to actually reintegrate and readapt to the new lifestyle.
So you also have brothers and sisters who stayed home?
Yeah.
And was there like a big difference between your lives and theirs?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. In fact, that have evolved to become maybe an issue. When you live in a different culture, you kind of become one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's your lifestyle, whether it's your habits, whether it's the way you talk, sometimes it's the way you dress, as simple as that. That may create some conflict between those who are actually stayed behind, because now for you they look at you as the foreigner right now.
So you said you had a wife. Where did you meet her?
Okay. That's interesting actually, because where I come from, there is a tradition in how to actually get married.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it actually traditional marriage. Now, there is a great misconception about traditional marriage. In the past, of course, there were a lot of violations, meaning that it was a forced marriage, meaning that my father or my mother would pick a bride for me and I have to marry her. She cannot say no and I cannot say no. It happened, and it still happened in different cultures. But the way I got married is actually, I had the choice. My family actually recommended a few girls, and I went and saw a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
I could have seen 10, I could have seen 20. So I seen the first one and I didn't feel the chemistry. Then I saw my wife, or to be, and there was the chemistry.
And then you immediately got married, or?
No, we actually got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And we got engaged for 3 months, then we got married.
Okay.
So you also have the opportunity to know one another through engagement, because in our culture dating isn't allowed. Some people do it right now, it's accepted by some, but it's still not accepted by many at the same time. In our culture, you need to get married after you are well established.
Okay.
It's not like that you can just get married while you are a student, because you really have to support your wife. I tell you a little secret as an example. Why am I a multicultural? I have a son who is actually dating a girl. In my own culture, this is not acceptable. But for me, right now, it's also not acceptable. But at the same time, I'm just ignoring it. You really have to be part of the culture that you are living in.
Do you think you have this ability to adapt and understand cultures in general?
Definitely. It would be much easier for me to move to any other culture right now, because I've been, through that experiences before.
Yeah.
Moving back and forth between the USA, Europe, and Jordan have given me the opportunity to learn how to adapt to that culture. I live, as an example, in a small town called Eindhoven, and it's all Belgians. Now, minorities and foreigners choose to actually live in a confined cities, like like here as an example, in Belgium there is a burger house, as an example. There's a lot of Moroccan there. You go to another town and there's a lot of Italians. You go to and then a lot of Turkish, and the same thing in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
I chose not to be part of that minority.
Why not?
Because it's, as I said, I have to be part of this society. You know, I didn't move from Jordan to live in another Jordan or a smaller Jordan. So.
But do you have the feeling like at home that there are two cultures actually? So the Jordan culture and, like you mentioned, of your daughters,
Yeah,
they are more used to the Dutch culture,
Yeah.
like here.
yeah.
Do they have a lot of struggle, like adjusting themselves? Like, oh wait, I'm home, so now I have to act more.
I don't see it.
Okay.
I don't see it. But at the same time, we give them the freedom as parents. We like, you know, I try myself and my wife to be pragmatic, meaning that, like, you know, to just live the present rather than, you know. And at the same time, we try to avoid confuse them. You know, like, you know, whether they did something wrong or not, if they see something or, you know, if they hear something, we try to help them understand what is it exactly. In the past, before the interculture or inter-society became, you know, as it is today, people were confined to actually keep information from children when they are exposed to it. It's the wrong approach, I think. And for me, the right approach right now that actually is to make them understand and explain to them when they actually don't understand certain, you know, behaviors or certain, even if they hear something on the news, you know, that they actually don't understand, you have to provide them with that piece of information.
Yeah.
You know, our goal is to actually achieve peace. We have to be able to live together, whether I'm black or white or Muslim or Christian, whether my skin is brown or whether I come from India or the Middle East or America. We have to eventually learn how to live one another. And as I say, your freedom stops when you cross somebody else's freedom. At the same time, we can only do that through education. And that's why education is a key to everything. That's why for refugees, the very first thing they do after making camps for them, create schools, because they know that how important it is. And that's why the first culture is actually important for the long-term survival of humanity.